Hey, welcome back to my channel. Primitive road, no warning signs here. I've been, it's been like this every time I want to go riding. It starts raining, or it's been raining for weeks, and so yeah, I haven't had a lot of opportunities lately. I've been real busy with all this volunteer stuff I'm doing, but I've been thinking about bikes and looking at all the new stuff that comes out, fresh graphics and stuff like that. The 1993 XR650L looks really good this year, and I like the 1987 TW200 graphics they got on it this year. And it gets me thinking, how about those, I don't know what color the 2001 Suzuki DRZ400 is this year, but it gets me thinking, how much better this bike is than a lot of the competition, and makes me think about comparing them. And I've had a chance to ride a lot of those bikes over the years, and I still feel like the one that maybe feels like it could do the same job as this one the best is the DR650 SE, just because of the power delivery, the way the gears are spaced. Even though it's only a 5-speed, it's a real nicely spaced gearbox. You can go anywhere from crawling speed to 85 miles an hour or faster pretty comfortably on that bike. It does seem like you end up in lower gear a lot, because it doesn't really like to go into 5th gear unless you're going 60. Where, on this bike you can just short shift it right into 6th gear at 40 and just leave it there. But the one I've been thinking about a couple, but I wanted to talk about where the DRZ just falls short as a dual sport. It's a great bike, don't get me wrong, and it can be a great off-road bike or a decent road bike, but because of the gearbox, kind of a tight ratio gearbox, and the spacing in it, you can't really have it both ways. You can't have a good top speed and a good off-road crawling gear, and you can't have good off-road performance and then still maintain a decent usable highway top speed. Part of that's the 5-speed gearbox, but it's mostly the ratios that are in there. So yeah, the DRZ maybe, on paper has a more adjustable suspension. It has an adjustable suspension. It's one of the biggest, ever on a dual sport, I think. Still 49 millimeter. It's not upside down. It's traditional, but it can be a very good suspension. My experience on DRZs, I've ridden some stock ones. I've ridden some that were set up right for somebody my size, and others that had been lowered, and they have a great amount of power. You could really just rod on them and wheelie, and really what I noticed off-road is that you end up steering it with the throttle more than this bike. It just spins the back tire no matter what kind of tire you got on there. It's easy to just light it up and change directions by roosting. And part of that too is that the front end of it feels weird. It's really good going fast, but it's kind of, I don't know if it's the geometry or what, but it just feels heavy in the front, which makes the back end slide around more and makes it harder if you're short like me to get traction on the back wheel, because it's hard to get your weight back on that wheel. I think that's probably what I think about it. Also things that kind of suck about the DRZ is that it's a really old bike. The dashboard on almost every other bike just is analog gauge with like a 100-mile trip meter, maybe 2 resettable trip meters, but it's just, they're small and hard to read. They just have a, you know, the lights for, you know, I had the TW200, just a light for neutral and a light for high beams, and a one that blinked when your blinkers were on, and that's it. You know, they could update some of that stuff without updating the whole bike, you know, and make it a better package. And anyway, the DRZ, you know, I think it's a good bike, and it feels really good going fast on gravel. You know, confidence inspiring, real easy to steer with the throttle. And you know, it's for what it is, it's a brilliant bike. And if they made a DRZ400 with a 6-speed or different gear ratios and fuel injection, I'd be down probably. You know, it's an awesome bike, and it could be perfect, you know, but they don't want to give us what we want. But I think with this CRF300, they kind of gave us what we wanted. You know, they went through and revised the gear ratios in the previous model, and they gave it a little more power. It's not a tremendous amount, but with the gearing changes and the chassis changes and everything, they made it a whole lot better from what I've heard from a lot of people. And I'm real happy with it. And if you can find one, you'll be happy too, I'm sure. Even if you're 300 pounds or you're an experienced off-road rider, there's aftermarket coming up to make this bike do what you want it to do. So just hold out, you know, get a bike, love the bike that you're riding, but you know, have that unicorn in mind. And this was kind of my unicorn. As soon as I saw that it came out, I went, well, yep, that's probably the bike for me right there, you know. Light adventure bike. Anyway, that's pretty much all I got to say about the DRZ. We'll talk later. Have a good night. Ride safe.